Johnson is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Head, I was going to kind of direct some comments and a couple questions your way. Being a former state legislator and doing a lot of ride-alongs at the circuit court level, I was often intrigued and interested to see the banter that goes on between some of these judges and the defendants that are before them. A lot of times it's about the wherewithal and whether or not the defendant actually could pay for some of these enhanced fees. And probably the best example of that is state legislatures who have a lot of control over this process at the state level, oftentimes will continue to impose fees that, quite honestly, the defendant is going to be unable to pay in the long run. And you're not going to send a police officer to somebody's door to try and collect these fees later on. So you end up trying to jump through all these hoops to devise all these systems to pull those dollars back. So my first point is, with a rapid expansion of the federal grants and what we're seeing, the strings attached as those dollars move to the states, it seems to me it's just a better place to manage this kind of at the state and local level, whether it's a municipal court or a circuit court. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, I categorically agree. One of the pieces that I think I'm encouraged with. So, obviously, Faith and Freedom Coalition, we do work on the federal level, but in a lot of states as well. About 20 states this year that will engage legislatively. I'm seeing a significant uptick in community review boards, which essentially are local law enforcement, county or city law enforcement that then sort of invite community leaders to have an ongoing, it's a chartered organization that receives input from that local community. And I think that I'm actually very encouraged by the progress. I mean, I know of 6 or 7 cities that have implemented that just in the last 2 or 3 months here. Every system not only is different, but also every community has very pronounced different needs and dynamics. And so I think it's really, really important for us to recognize and kind of devolve the decision-making process to as local as possible, and conversely avoid federal or national prescriptive approaches that either are going to be inapplicable in a lot of places or truly will diverge or divert, a lot of this local decision-making process.
Yeah, I mean, it goes against kind of what we want the system to actually accomplish, which is to hold these individuals responsible for either negligence or, obviously, in some instances at the federal level, breaking they're criminal defendants that are breaking the law. But the idea is that state and local authorities certainly would be better served if we would allow them to make these decisions. I'll just kind of go in a little bit different direction. Oftentimes we would have individuals that just aren't paying child support. They're just, they're way behind, they're in the rears, and they come before the circuit courts in Wisconsin, my home state. And a lot of times the circuit court judges would simply say, let me get this straight. You can't pay your child support, but you've got a $9 pack of cigarettes in your pocket right now. There's oftentimes kind of that type of management, that level of management and relationships that are built with defendants that I think would serve us much better. And at the federal level, even further removed, I just don't see how this makes a lot of sense. So I thank you for being here today. But I think the detachment we see from the federal government to being able to manage this type of system just doesn't exist. So
I agree with that, and I also think that the use of or the alternative of community supervision, of community service, is underutilized. I think in a lot of contexts for people's inability to pay. But the specific place for people to be able to serve obviously needs to be driven by local either judges or potentially prosecutors to make recommendations as well. So I think there are ways to kind of marry. We would like to see more practices of things like that for alternative to pay. But even then, we need to see partnership with local jurisdictions. So it's very, very important for us to be almost over-aware of local input into these kinds of processes and procedures.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield back.
I thank you.